Hi, and welcome to the next episode of OTTB on Tap. I'm Neve.
And I'm Emily. Hey, Neve, what's on tap today?
Today, we're checking in with Chelsey O'Brien, one of our RRP participants, to see how her journey is going with her OTTB Unbeknownst To Me, aka UBie, on their journey to the makeover.
Excellent. For those just joining us, we have a series where we've been chronicling the progress of 4 trainers as they prepare their off-track thoroughbreds for the Retired Racehorse Makeover, which takes place October 9th through 12th, 2024 in Lexington, Kentucky. Also, please make sure to check out our website, www.ottbontap.com, to sign up for our newsletter. You'll be the first to know about bonus content, upcoming episodes, and maybe a giveaway. So go there now and do that.
To catch up on Chelsey's story, you can go back to episodes 14 and 25 for an in-depth introduction of who she is and the OTTB she's bringing along.
Welcome back, Chelsey.
Hi, I'm excited to fill you in on our journey because we've made a lot of progress since we last talked.
Yeah, I think so. Before we check in and see how things are going with UBie, you've got some pretty big news about your farm.
Oh, yeah. So since we last spoke, I actually moved farms and now have everybody in one central location, which is very nice. I am now the farm manager and head trainer at a farm in Berryville, Virginia called the 1780. I was walking into a blank slate, and it's been a lot of fun because, number one, before I was going between so many different farms, between my resale horses, my personal horses, training horses, all of that. So now everybody's more in one centralized location. Got a big covered arena, so that helps me stay on track because now I'm not worried about the weather.
Yeah.
And it's a really exciting adventure, and I'm really hoping to share my love for the thoroughbreds in my area. I know Virginia is very thoroughbred centric, especially my area. Not doing anything new or groundbreaking or anything like that, but I'm just excited to be able to share what I do and also help some different guys find new careers.
What's the history of the farm?
It was used for a bunch of different events. It was a boarding farm and training facility. They had big ropings, they had barrel races, they had big trail rides. And the farm has 167 acres, but 100 of it are in a land trust or Virginia forestry. There's a lot of pine trees, and so they harvest the pine trees every 7 years. And the farm owner does not have anything to do with horses. This is a new venture for him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, another girl was running the farm, and she just parted ways to take her training business solo, and here I am.
Oh, that's really cool. It sounds like an amazing opportunity for you, and it is really cool when you can have all of your animals in one place like that. I know we went through a stage where we were going back between a couple of facilities or trying to piece it together, and it makes a huge difference when you can just have the operation under one roof.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was like, I'm wasting so much time and energy just driving.
Yeah.
Never mind the cost of fuel and everything else. I could have been so much more productive. So having everybody all in one spot, now my personal horses don't fall so much on the back burner.
Right. That's what tends to happen.
Yeah. They still do a little bit.
Yeah.
Not quite as, hi, you have 4 feet and 2 eyes and no wounds. Great.
You're done for today.
Here's some food.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
You have a blanket on, looks fine. Great. Yeah. No, we can definitely empathize with that. That's super exciting. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's been going great. And it's been even more exciting because I have another Pastured Place horse now here with me, finishing up our last leg before we go to Kentucky. So I have one of my teammates. She actually drives all the way down here from Annapolis. So she drives 2 hours, but she's a fox hunter and she's doing the field hunters and show jumping with him. So it's been nice to have the camaraderie of the team. And I'm super excited for her. Her name's Brittany Metzger, and she's taking a horse named Oval with her, and he's come leaps and bounds, and it's fun to have somebody working towards the same goal.
Yeah,
even though definitely. We're doing different divisions.
Definitely. Are you guys going to ship down together and everything?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's fun. I'm so excited. And we have our little team mascot, Zelly.
What's the mascot?
Zelly, my daughter.
Oh, Zelly, your For some reason, I don't know if I knew your daughter's name before. Apologies for that.
Oh, yeah. Zelly,
that's really cute. Is she going to wear like a little Pastured Place t-shirt or anything like that?
Yeah. Yep. She will be decked out, and she loves to cheer for everybody, and she loves horse shows. And
oh, it's going to be awesome.
Though she'll be sad that she doesn't get to compete herself.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But UBie would take her around. There's just something about him. He just is enamored with her. It's so cute.
Oh, that's really sweet. Let's catch up to where we left off. Can you just give us a little rundown on his basic info, his jockey club name and age and stuff like that?
Okay. UBie, Unbeknownst To Me. He is an 8-year-old thoroughbred gelding. He's by Fed Biz out of Perfect Paula, who is by Song and a Prayer. He made 15 starts. And he earned $71,000. His highest sale price was $180,000 as a yearling at Keeneland.
Wow.
He also sold earlier that in 2017. He's a 2018. He sold at the January sale for $45,000 and then sold later on at the September sale. And I am now entered for barrel racing, which we all knew before. And before I was in between Western dressage and ranch work, and I am going for the ranch work.
Yeah, I was wondering, we've been interviewing a couple of the other riders, and I'm sure it gets down to this, like, you know the horse a little bit and you're thinking about what they want to do. And it's been really interesting hearing how the riders have chosen the disciplines and why, even if the horse seemed having a bit of natural talent for another discipline, they decided to hold off on that and send it in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to switch from Western dressage to ranch work?
So the ranch seems to encompass a lot of his talents, where Western dressage, he's not like a 10 mover or anything like that. And I just think that he has so many talents that we could showcase that I feel like all of the different maneuvers that I've been working on, I've messed around with some dressage patterns. I know that's not the word, but patterns.
Close enough. Makes sense.
Sorry. Tests. And he's great. He's responsive and all of that. But there's just so much more that he's good at.
Yeah.
And I think it'll just be really exciting to push the envelope with that. There's some things that we haven't practiced yet.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the ranch work in particular, like the things that you think he'll be good at or what might be a little bit challenging for him?
He is just super solid when it comes to everything, like riding out. I take him trail riding. He's willing to go over the logs. I set up all different little obstacles and things that we're going to have to do there. Will be like side passing over a pole, transition work. He's going to have a trot and extended trot, lope circles, a good halt. He's going to have to be able to do a 360 turn on the haunches with good transitions into the lope. He's going to have to drag a log. We're going to have to be able to throw a rope. We're going to have to open a gate, go through some cattle, close the gate, and there's a pattern class, and also the trail class. And then if you make it to the top 5, then there is ranch sorting where you have to sort 5 cattle. So that's the hard part, is the cattle part. He has seen cows. We are going to a sorting clinic on Friday night.
Oh,
so
cool.
We'll see.
Cool. Yeah.
So how are we waiting to the last minute on that part? Yes.
I feel like some of the other writers that we've talked to, they've said it's been interesting when you immerse them in that environment, seeing how they decide, oh, I get to chase them and move them around. This is cool. So that'll be fun for you to really put him under that kind of like pressure test.
Yeah, so far, every single thing I've thrown at this horse, he has never batted an eye. So only one thing has he ever been scared of the entire time. And it was, I roped a plastic barrel and pulling that plastic barrel behind us. It was like bouncing and all
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Making all kinds of crazy sounds.
Be terrifying.
I had done it on the ground at first, and I was like, oh, he doesn't care. I'm getting on. And he doesn't do anything bad. He was just like, what?
Yeah.
And that was about it. A hairy eyeball and a little scoot, and that was it. I can think of a million other things that could have happened.
Yeah.
I am really going to miss this horse after, because I can just basically throw a saddle up on him and he's, what are we doing today? And he's game to do it all. We've gone to some barrel races and stuff, and he's been just such a trooper. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the warm-up pen at a barrel race.
We heard about it from our rider in North Dakota. She was like, if you can survive the warm-up pen and get in the ring, everything else is easy.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us about the warm-up pen? I need to know more details. Is it any scarier than a hunter jumper warm-up ring?
Way scarier. Way scarier.
Oh boy.
You might have somebody picking a corner and loping some circles over there. Then you got some little kids who have no ring etiquette whatsoever, and they're just cutting you off, and they don't care what kind of horse you're on. They just think it's a good one. And you got people cutting you off. You've got 30 horses in a small little tiny, really not a big arena. People going all which way. People slamming in the halt, rolling back and going the other way.
Oh boy.
You really have to have your wits about you.
Yeah. How do you even carve out a little bit of space to do your own thing? I guess you just don't. You just move around as much as you can.
Yeah, you're like, we're just going with the flow. But I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever had a horse as good as him. He just walked in there and was like, okay, this is what we do. All right. And he didn't jig, didn't look at anything. Horses are bumping into us, literally bumping into us.
Oh my God.
And he's okay, running up 2 feet behind your butt. Okay. Walking around on the buckle. He's just a dude.
It's so cool too, because thinking back to your last episode, one of the reasons I think that you were excited to work with him is that he's not maybe the most typical horse that's going to fly off the shelf when you advertise him. A little smaller. I think does he crib? Is there a couple of cribber. Yeah. And it's really cool that you can have such an awesome experience and you're going to miss him so much, even though maybe he's not the biggest, flashiest horse out there.
Yeah. I just think that so many people overlook these horses. And on top of that, he's he's not old, but as a horse who has had no retraining, 8 is old.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's somebody out there who would take the chance too, but I just think so many people look at the cons of the scenario, but I have never felt safer on a horse than I feel on him. He diminishes all of my crazy internal monologue. That's, what if this happens?
Right. Which is hard. It's hard not to do that when you're riding, right? I feel like, especially as we get older and we have, less singular responsibilities and things like that, you do find yourself in this could go wrong and this could go wrong. And oh my God, what if they come over here right now?
Yeah. And it's fun. My personal horses are lovely. And I don't know if it's just over time. I don't know if it's from being a mom but my training has definitely changed since having my daughter, because it put the fear of God into me. And then also, because you only have this little tiny baby that has to rely on you. But I feel like I have a little more empathy. I think I have a little more fear in a good way. Sometimes in the past it was not in a good way, just from anxiety and overthinking is basically my biggest issue. But with a horse like him, it would be a shame if somebody overlooked him because he's a cribber, because you could get something exactly like him, but it's going to spook and spin you off. And for him moving on to be an adoptable horse, he's a good, solid citizen. So I feel like we've accomplished a lot, even if he's not the biggest and flashiest. I love him. I think he's beautiful and has so many great qualities, but he's just atypical for what most people are looking in a thoroughbred.
Yeah. What a tribute to Pastured Place, who owns him, and that they take a horse that's maybe not the most marketable and allow someone like yourself to put the time and training into him and really let him shine. It's really cool. Very special.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for the opportunity because you don't really know. When I went to look at him in December and try him, I didn't think that we would be where we are now. I knew he was cool and I was like, oh yeah, he's awesome. Like, I bet you could ride into war on him. But like, that was just a figure of speech. But
Yeah.
I actually feel like you probably could ride.
I think it's also is coming back to something we talked about in an early episode, was that the best thing you can ever do for a horse, and especially a thoroughbred, is to create value in them. And that value comes from them being good at something. Whether that's they're a trail ride only horse, or they'll stand in the cross ties all day and let the kids groom them in a lesson barn, or it's they're going to teach somebody how to go run their first beginner novice course, or whatever the case might be. And it's really cool to hear about your journey with him, because even though your intentions were slightly different in the beginning, I feel like you've created so much value in a horse that, like we were saying, might have been slightly undervalued to begin with.
Yeah. Like I said, it's going to be really hard to say bye to him when it's time. I hope we find like the perfect person, like somebody, I don't know, if somebody's been listening or been following my journey on Facebook or Instagram and shows up and just wants to try him at RRP and loves him, but he's just so game to do anything. And it's just a joy, like to say, hey, I want to go take a trail ride today. And I know you're not going to like spin me into the dirt. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great feeling, because I ride a lot of green horses and we can get a little touchy or spooky, or I try to set him up in the best way where those things don't happen. But he didn't I've just been very lucky in having him, because he didn't need any of that desensitization. It's just, oh, this is what we're doing. Okay, you tell me where to go and I'm going.
I love it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Since we last spoke, has he gone to any shows or any big milestones that you have accomplished with him?
Yes, so I've taken him to 2 barrel races, and so I'm a hot mess. And poor UBie, I just have so much going on and everything, and I'm like, okay, we're going to the barrel race and load up and let's go. We get there, got 10 minutes to go into the exhibition. He hasn't seen the arena at all. I'm just like, okay, we're exhibitioning now, and he's okay. And so he goes in the ring and he does it, and I'm like, okay, great, let's just enter and just see, because I didn't have enough time to really, they were like, hurry up and get in there because we're trying to shut this down so we can start the show. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. But he just gets off the trailer and off he goes into the ring, and it's perfect. When I'm training the barrel pattern at home, I don't think they really understand. Maybe they do, maybe other horses do, but I just don't think he really understood, why are we doing this? And why do you want me to go around these 3 barrels? Okay, I'll do it. But then we go to the barrel race, and he is just in his glory, sitting there and watching. I'm not kidding. He sat there with his ears up at the side of the arena and watched every horse go.
Wow.
Studying them and being like, what are they doing?
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it just felt, he was like, oh yeah, I get it now.
Yeah.
This is fun. This is a race. Okay. So
it's so cool.
It is, because I had just intended to go in and do it really slow, right? And the way that this arena is set up, there's no real place to lope a circle and then send them straight. Some places have a bigger pen where in front of the timer you can do a couple circles and then send them in. This arena just has an alleyway, and there's not enough space in front of the timer there to make a circle. So you just have to trot on in and go. And you come in a little blind to the first barrel, so you have to know really where to set them up. Anyway, so we go in, and he's on the correct lead, and we go into the first, and he turns it, and all of a sudden he's like, I saw the other horses, and I'm going. And I'm like, God. Oh no.
That's so cool.
He hustles across the arena, but I'm like, no, you don't know where, you're not really sure where to turn yet, buddy. I know we do this at home, but yeah, so then we went a little bit wide on that turn. which is fine. These are all just the woes of seasoning a horse. It's much different in an environment like that than doing it at home. You can do it 100 times perfect at home and then go and you have the pressure of all the lights and the sounds and other horses and everything else. And like I said, I don't think he understood that until he saw those other horses go across the arena mock speed. He had no idea why exactly he had to do it. And then he really hustled and it was good. I was really happy with that effort. He listened to me. He started to get the idea, but you only get one run. So then I went in and did another one. And I think our first run was like 22 seconds or something like that. And then the next one was 20. And then we came back 2 weeks later and we improved, I think, by 2.5 seconds, which when barrel racing, 2.5 seconds is very big.
Oh, wow.
Now, we were still in the 4D, but we were getting closer. As far as attending more barrel races to come, I'm hoping to hit 1 or 2 more shows. I don't think I really need to push the issue with him. He's excellent off property. And he does not care about warming up with other horses. My goal now is just to get him really well schooled on the pattern and listening to me and listening to my seat. And then when we go to those other shows, then working through those issues. But I don't think it's going to taking him every single week until Kentucky to get him to that place. My goal, my theory on, at least for the barrels, going into Kentucky is he has to be really well broke for the horsemanship pattern because we have to make 2 barrel runs. So my goal is, to do it clean is number 1, keep all 3 barrels up. And number 2, we would like a little bit of speed, but I don't want it so fast that he's out of control and we're blowing the barrels because that makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's faster to be slow and clean than fast and blowing out.
Yeah.
And doing huge wide circles and not listening.
What's the penalty for knocking down a barrel?
Typically at a normal barrel race, it would just be disqualification.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to double check with the RRP rules. They might add 5 because it's a cumulative score. So they combine your times from day 1 and day 2, and whoever has the lowest time and the best horsemanship score.
Okay.
Those things are all taken into account.
But knocking down a barrel is very costly.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So 5 seconds that's enormous.
Like you're totally out of the competition.
They're winning barrel races by 0.001.
Yeah.
So
you posted something the other day that said, today was the first day I was able to grab the horn. What does that mean? I feel like I had a vague idea of what it meant, but I wanted for you to clarify.
When you're traveling at speed, I know I've seen some controversies on the internet before where some people say English riders have better balance because they would be able to turn that barrel with 2 hands and not having to grab the horn, and that Western riders have to do that for balance, which it's not really for balance. It's to be able to stay out of their way. And the goal is that they're turning on their own. So when we're working the pattern, I'm trying to create muscle memory, even in the slow work. Like we could walk it. Mm-hmm. And I want him to be able to turn that barrel just off my seat in very minimal hand cues. I said going to the horn for the first time. It was the first time I had loped the pattern and grabbed the horn and turned. Of course, the video is not very good, but I was just happy with the effort. But I shouldn't have been doing it in my split reins. Other people run in split reins, which are those really long dual reins. And they're a lot more punchier ladies out there than me. But I got all disorganized, and so he overturned the third, and then it was not very swift. But I was really happy with the effort because sometimes as you start to drop to the horn, you might have issues like blowing out on the outside of the barrel and going really wide, or them dodging in. So once you start grabbing the horn to turn, they really need to be listening to your seat and your leg cues and be strong enough to hold themselves up through that turn, because you're just trying to stick with them now at that point.
Yeah. That must be a really cool milestone, though, to feel that, because I feel if you were to send somebody into their arena and tell them to go run down the end of the arena and do a 180-degree turn at full speed, I feel like a lot of people and their horses would not feel that comfortable doing a turn like that and not having the horse motorcycle around it. And I feel like when you watch those horses go around the barrel and they're just sitting on their hind ends and doing probably what's equivalent to a Grand Prix pirouette, except for they're doing it on a gallop.
Yeah, and that's what I try to tell people. I know there's all different ways that people compete and do things and all of that, but I think if you're doing it correctly, I like to equate barrel racing to high-speed dressage, because you really have to have really fine-tuned ability to move your horse's front end and hind end separately and simultaneously, and engage, disengage, gallop, sit back right onto the hind end, bring the front end around almost like in a pirouette, or turn on the haunches, or let's roll back, however you'd like to look at it. But because I'm a rider who does both English and Western events, I crisscross the two a lot. Yeah. It's fun because I'm a little more open-minded, because I think you can become very black or white, but I've found things that have really helped me from the Western world into the English world and vice versa. Yeah, sorry, that was a tangent.
No, it's all good. I just learned a lot. My experience with barrel racing was like where the barn I grew up riding at, we did English Goes Western Gymkhana Day once a year or something, or at the 4-H fair, but I always rode English. Very limited. So that's really cool. I love that.
Oh, yeah. No, that was my experience up until, I had dabbled in some Western pleasure through high school. And then when I got to college is when I started getting into barrels, and I lived out in Indiana, and there wasn't a lot of access to training and things. So I was just teaching myself off of YouTube. There's so much free information out there that's incredible. So I'm out in the middle of a cornfield, basically, and I'm out there, and I go home. I watch these videos like Fallon Taylor is great, Deanna Kirkpatrick, and having the visual from YouTube was great. And then going to the farm, trying to implement that. And we just had a tilled up dirt arena out behind the barn. Yeah. And that was my goal every day, was just go home, watch a video, think about how I can implement that with my own horse. And I think now either my horse is really difficult, or I'm just getting better at implementing these things in a more concise way to the horses that it happens quicker. But then it took me so long to train my horse. But it was really helpful to watch how to do it correctly, because I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
So if you don't have access to a lot of trainers in your area, there's just so much out there on the internet. And there's also not great things out there on the internet. Obviously, do your research and figure out who it's coming from, because you can post on these forums and things and get some crazy ideas.
The horse world is nothing if it's not short on opinions about things.
Yes, absolutely.
That is a very diplomatic way of saying that. My other experience with barrel racing is just watching Yellowstone and the barrel racing girls.
Oh, yeah. And I love that, because I live in a very English dominated area. A lot of eventers, a lot of hunter jumpers, but there is a lot of need for Western riding in this area, because people have been enthralled by that show. People are just so open to trying it. And when I got into doing the Western thing versus the English, and no hard feelings to any of the English people, but the Western community is so much different in ways. You go to the horse show and it's almost like a family event. People are like instant friends. Hey, how are you? Who are you? We haven't seen you around here.
Yeah, oh, that's nice.
Particularly like the local places and stuff, and you start to get to know people, and it's just a nice atmosphere. It's very family friendly. There's a lot of people with kids. There's a lot of kids competing. There's adults competing, and it's a very nice mesh, and people are just willing to help. And I think that's really nice, where in some situations, not all, I've had a lot of really great experiences with local schooling shows around here, but maybe in other places that I've lived, maybe you don't even make eye contact with someone coming out of the room.
Right. Yeah. And for any of our listeners that have found themselves watching Yellowstone and are like, oh my gosh, I really want one of those reining horses or those barrel horses, I think their auction prices start at $1 million.
So very expensive horses on that show.
Very crazy.
So you can get yourself a nice OTTB that's been trained in ranch work and barrels for a fraction of the cost.
And UBie's your guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of other really wonderful competitors there too that I've seen are also available to be purchased or adopted but yeah, consider UBie.
So along the way, it sounds like things have been really pretty smooth with UBie, or have you had any training challenges or things you've had to overcome with them?
Oh man, don't get me started on the feet. No, our biggest problem has, for a while there, we were throwing shoes a lot, and we have gotten past that. That has been great to move out of that, because now I'm not stressed out every time I look. I'm like, is there 2 shoes there, please? Because he's only got fronts on right now.
Yeah.
But that's really been my biggest thing. I am big on just doing a lot of preventative work to begin with. So I use the cold laser. I have a body worker that works on him once a month. I just try to stay ahead of things. I think Adequan never hurts, whether it's needed or I think it's better than feed through. I think I've had some success with other feed through things, but as something that is FDA approved and is scientifically proven to work and be more bioavailable, or I can't think of the word.
Yeah, I think like several vets have told me that, and this may have changed because it was many years ago, but I know feed supplements have gotten better and there's more science now, but it was basically like, this is the only thing that's actually been proven to do anything for their joints, short of injecting into the joint versus feeding them something that you hope finds its way through their body to get to their joints.
Yeah. Those are the things we're definitely good on the feet now. They look excellent. I'm super happy with that. He's going great. One of the harder things that we struggled with was when I first started riding him, he really liked to dodge the shoulder in and almost lean and canter. And it felt like we were sideways, although I'd watch videos and it didn't look as bad as that felt.
It just felt like you were going to tip over.
Yeah, but no, he's come such a long way with that. And I like to focus on good conditioning, a lot of preventative work. And I am a member of the Balance Through Movement Masterclass, which I highly recommend to anybody. I've had such great success with my horses.
I was just talking to my saddle fitter and she went through that program and highly recommended it for not just their physical being, but their mental being. And it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it definitely changed. My personal horse was unrideable 2 years ago between lameness and things that I never considered to be an issue. But I've definitely trained my eye better now through that program to see dysfunction in their body and notice compensation patterns better. So that has made a huge difference for UBie, where he's carrying himself more balanced, and we hack out a lot, and I have hills at the farm. So I think that's great for his mind and also for creating a more balanced body and brain, even though he's calm anyways. But
and all those hills are probably so good for the type of work that you're doing with him, because like we were saying, equating barrel riding to upper level dressage, you're asking for the horse to load bear on its hind end and really work over its back and all that and lift. And hills, nothing's better for that than even just walking hills every day.
Oh yeah. And for him, naturally wants to be front endy, so getting him on those hills and getting him to really have to lift through the shoulders. And he tries to cheat me out of it sometimes because I either want to walk or trot those hills. I'm not trying to canter up them because that's
cheating.
Too easy.
all,
yeah.
And he really, he's, no, I want to go. Not that he really puts up much of a fight, but I'm going. I'm like, oh no, we're trotting.
We're trotting. What kind of advice would you give to somebody dealing with the horse the first year they have them off the track and dealing with some of the stereotypical issues that off the track thoroughbreds have with their feet?
Get a really good farrier. Number one. Number two, if you can swing it, get the rads of the feet so that you're not doing the guesswork.
That's great advice.
If not, just make sure that you have a really good idea, because I know what I'm looking for and what I want, and to articulate that to a farrier sometimes can
go poorly.
Yeah.
And I try very hard to walk a fine line. Just want to keep my guy happy. He does really good work and he's excellent. I don't have to stand on top of him and be like, what's going on now? Although I am annoying and I'm like, what do you think about this? And then I get to doomsday thinking. But I had a really severe case that I took on with one of the worst feet that I've ever seen come off the track. And it's just a process. And sometimes you just have to accept that process. And sometimes that time frame is not going to look the way that you might want it to. But if the saying is no hoof, no horse. And another thing that I recommend is just making sure that your diet is, I like to feed a low starch, low sugar diet, controlled NSCs and things, because the more starch and things, I have seen that their feet just don't thrive. High in omega-3s, biotin is great, flax is great. Having the important amino acids, zinc and copper balanced, and not too much iron in the diet and things like that. I could probably go on for days, but I would just hammer home that you cannot really train a horse very well if they're having to compensate for their feet so much. They create all of these patterns in their body and over muscle in different ways, and it creates tension. Try and knock that out of the park as soon as you can, and just have a good team behind you when it comes to that, because it can be a nightmare. And there's a lot of different really cool options out there now, like the easy care, are they composite, and the different casting and things like that.
We were just talking about this with my barn manager yesterday, but like the casting, I feel like a lot of farriers are going in that direction over glue-ons now, because it stays a little bit truer to the hoof itself and can be just a huge success for a horse that is just having trouble ripping off shoe after shoe. And I feel like our farrier...
We did a round of casts on UBie, and it just improved his hoof wall so much.
Yeah.
In just one cycle. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I love all of that advice. I think it's really important to recognize the signs of hoof pain and sensitivity, and even arena footing sometimes can bother their soles. Like you've got this nice sand ring, but I think sometimes when it's summer and it's hot and it gets a bit crispy, just all of that friction can make some of them a little bit sore too.
Yeah. And I only know about all of this stuff so much because I've had to learn the hard way.
Oh my gosh. I was talking to somebody about that because I said something about getting something out of my medical kit. And they were like, you always have everything. And I was like, I've owned a lot of thoroughbreds, and I'm pretty sure I have basically every base covered between my foot box, my like leg stuff, and then my general medical kit. And I'm so lucky now that I haven't really had to dip into that very much. But if you think you need it, I probably have it.
Yep. And sometimes I hate when I go and buy things, even if it's just, oh, look, there's a good deal on vet wrap. And magically, the next day I need it. And now I need to go buy more.
Right. Buy vet wrap by the case. Because, I mean, literally just how many hooves you have to wrap or band. You turn them out for the first time and they rip their leg open. Then they need a special bandage on it, and it's never in a good spot. Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. So, slightly different question, but how have you and how have UBie dealt with the mental pressure of preparing for the makeover?
UBie, I don't think he's going to care at all. I did
awesome.
prior to the move to the new farm, he was living out 24/7, and I wasn't sure how he was going to respond to having to stay in, but I knew that was going to be an important piece. I didn't think it would be fair to send him straight from the field like I did it last year, and she was fine. But I just felt, okay, let's set you up for success if I have the ability to put you in a stall now.
Sure.
Now he stalls, and I mean, he loves it. He's happy. He loves having his privacy to eat because he had to deal with my annoying horses. And he is a chow hound. Man, he loves to eat. And I think he's just happy. It's been a heck of a summer. So it's been hot. He loves fan.
Nice to get out of the heat.
So who wouldn't enjoy any of that?
Right. Snacks, the fan.
Exactly.
It's a good point, though, that you bring up about the difference when you go to the horse park for the week. You're going to have a horse that's going to be basically not turned out. And you're so lucky to have him because at least you'll be able to just hack him all over the place when you have free time.
I'm so excited for that. But as far as any of the other mental stuff for him, I'm really not concerned other than if the cow thing doesn't go well. The issue is that where I live, there isn't a lot of opportunities for whatever reason in the summertime. There's not a lot of opportunities close to me.
Gotcha.
But I am lucky this Friday night, I'll be able to take him. And I really don't foresee him having any issues.
Has he seen cows at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he's seen them over the fence.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. In the warm-up pen, he has had horses like back straight up into him. He would make a heck of a pony horse out on the racetrack. Because he just does not care. When I threw the rope off of him for the first time, he was just like, oh, okay, whatever.
Cool.
So I just want to set him up for success when I go to Kentucky. It's a lot of concrete walking there, so that's not much of a mental thing, but I just have to prepare, for my if there's any other competitors out there that are listening, my greatest words of advice are like, get the hoof packing, get the stall mats, overbed the stalls, whatever you can do to like really provide them a lot of comfort, get soft rides, do whatever you have to do, but it is a really hard venue on their feet. Yeah. So just be mindful of that. And
that's really great advice.
Yeah. And then as far as me, the mental part for me, he gives me a lot of confidence. So I'm really lucky to have a horse that makes me feel safe. I feel prepared in most of the ways. And I don't know why. It's before that's the issue, but when I'm waiting to go in, I just can turn it on. I don't know, something in me turns on and I'm like, okay, we're just showing now. And I'm annoying and I crack jokes with everybody around me, and it's my way of coping with things. And that's just how I get through life, with humor. If I'm not laughing, you should be worried.
Yeah. I relate to that.
And usually it's to my own demise or whatever. I'm self-deprecating at times, but for me, it's the preparation part. I just want to feel prepared, even though I'm total type B and a hot mess and thrive in chaos. I do want to know that when we go, I want to have him prepared as much as possible. And I feel like we've hit that point. And now it's just the fine details and cows that we have to get through. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I talk to the animal communicator a lot. So we're going to check in next week and probably again before we go. And I just think, in my opinion, it's only weird if it doesn't work. And I've had the horses say some crazy things, but it's never led me astray. I just want to ask him, how is he feeling
ready? Yeah.
And do I know that's weird and eccentric? Yes.
Oh, I just did it this year with my horse, and I was such a skeptic, and I was blown away. And I can't recommend it enough. I was like, there's just no way they're going to be able to tell me anything. And the stuff that she told me, I was half crying for most of it, but I completely blown away.
Yeah, and
I'm a believer.
And
you'll have to let us know what he says.
Cool.
Yes,
I'll make sure to take notes. The first time that I talked with the animal communicator about UBie, it made me a little sad because, and looking at his race history, and she didn't know any of this, he said, how long is this contract going to be for?
Oh.
And And she was like, what do you mean? And he was like, every place is a contract. And I just want to know, how long am I going to be here for?
Oh, man.
But if you look at his race record, it does make sense. He sold in January of his yearling year, so then he probably went somewhere, Pinhooker, prepped him, brought him to Keeneland for September sale. And he's had really great connections, but he had been claimed several times through his career. I think he had like 6 or 7 trainers. He ran at 7 different tracks. So I think he's just seen a lot of people, but it was just interesting and crazy for him. And she's now going to be here for a while. So I think however that works, I think that it helps. I talk to them a lot. I talk to them like they're people. I explain the whole process to them, and I probably sound like a crazy person, but so I talk to him. I'm like, this is what you have to expect. And whether he understands it or not, at least it's like making me feel more prepared because I'm talking. And I try to do the same thing with my toddler, and I definitely try to raise the horses like I raised the toddler. And I'm trying to prepare them mentally, whether they understand or not.
I love it. Yeah, definitely keep us posted on what he says leading up to the big day or the big week. What's your favorite or most rewarding thing about bringing a young horse along?
Oh gosh, that's hard. I think the thing that I have come to realize over the last few years is I find the whole thing about horses being your mirror to be very interesting. So I like having a horse and now learning about breath work and regulating the nervous system and all of those things and fine-tuning the nutrition. I enjoy all aspects of the horse care and all of that. So I like to see it all come together, even if it's just the small. I don't put a time limit on anything. So my goal is just if we get 1% better every day and then 10 days later, we're doing something completely different. And I just think watching them transform from maybe muscle bound and anxious and nervous. My favorite thing is when, you get done with whatever you're doing. I just try to get even the smallest give, and I stop and I sit there and I go,
yeah.
And then the horse goes, and that's the most rewarding thing to me, whether it's a young horse or a seasoned horse. It's knowing that we are exchanging this energy and I'm trying to be balanced in my emotions and I want them to be as well. And so that deep breath to me is the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
Now, I always love when they take that deep breath and you're like, okay, it's all going to be okay.
Okay.
I've never tried myself taking the deep breath first. I may have to try that.
That's another thing that I had learned from the animal communicator with a different horse was that I had one who, she didn't roar, but like she purred the whole time. And she said, why don't you try breathing like out loud with her and I know that sounds crazy, but it worked.
Oh, wow.
She finally took that deep breath and then we were actually able to work without any more like feeling like her diaphragm was trapped or something, like able to expel that energy or move it around better.
That's really cool. I like that. I feel like that's like a moment of you being completely in sync with them too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like to think of it as a partnership. Obviously, I think everybody believes horses are a partnership, but I like to think that it's a surrender between both of you. They have to trust you enough and you have to trust them enough to give and let go. And to me, that breath from me and breath for them is we're both saying, okay, we surrender to each other.
Yeah, I love that.
The word surrender is really good.
Do you have a favorite trait or characteristic about UBie? You've mentioned a lot of them, but
it's the trustworthiness. Yeah. To me, you can build that into a horse, but there's just something about him that's just, he's a rock. And so for me, that's cool because I am not having to be, he's the calm and the chaos.
You said a lot of stories already. Do you have any specific memorable or funny stories?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to.
It's a hard one.
You know, I guess the funniest thing was, I told you earlier about the only time he's ever been like, what is that? It was when I was roping a plastic barrel going behind us. I hopped off after that because I was like, okay, I didn't do enough work on the ground with this before getting up. I didn't prepare him well enough for this, but we were with Brittany, who has Obel for Pastured Place. And so the 4-year-old, he's dragging it around all over the place. And we're walking behind and UBie is looking. And it was just really funny and cute because he's a super good horse too. But it was just funny to have the 4-year-old teaching the 8-year-old, who's usually the unflappable one. And not that Obel's flappable, but it was just cute. It was a fun moment. And it just is so funny to that juxtaposition.
Yeah.
A horse she's doing fox hunting, so she's not dragging barrels or logs or whatever.
That's amazing.
We're just doing the training together.
Yeah, I love it.
That's cute. Well, I can picture him just watching like he did the barrel racing.
Yeah.
There was a thing that we saw at the World Horse Expo. One of the trainers was saying that if he has trouble with his horses and the cows, he'll have them chase like an ATV pulling like a cow.
Like a cow dummy.
Yeah, like a cow dummy. And he's sometimes getting them to lock on to the thing that they're afraid of, and they'll teach them to chase it, like really works out. So maybe that's a little bit, that'll come in handy on Friday.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Friday because I don't know what to expect. But like I said, I'm not nervous. I feel like it's just going to be another day for UBie.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Friday, which actually I'm thinking Friday is before this will air. So maybe we can post a little update about how your work with the cows goes. But any other training plans or big competitions that you're planning on before you go to the makeover? There
is just a couple local barrel races. I'm really lucky that there's 2 different places within 30 minutes of me, and they're on Wednesday nights or Saturdays and Sundays, and I can make a lot of that work in my schedules. But my biggest goal is to just continue to get more broke, more fit, and cows. And just I have to fine tune our gate opening and things like that. But for the most part, it'll just be practice, repetition, maybe besides Friday, maybe 2 more barrel races, maybe hit an obstacle course.
Cool.
And set up some trail stuff over here at my farm. But that's really my goal, is just slow work. And I'm not too worried about the competition aspect.
You say that, maybe you might get a little worried about the competition aspect down the road.
When we get there, I'll be like, I didn't do enough. Everybody else did more than me.
Yeah.
And
what am I doing here?
And yeah, no, I get into doomsday. The brain gets a little wild.
Yeah, I hear you. It's funny. The last time I went to the makeover, which was 2017, I had this really lovely big chestnut horse, and he actually was from Pastured Place before it was Pastured Place.
Oh.
And we got there, and I had the very first dressage ride the next morning, and I was not in control of the shipping schedule getting him there or anything. And so I was already panicked because I was like, oh my God, I have to ride this horse in the dressage ring. I don't even know where the dressage ring is. It's tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I have to ride him tonight. The only place to ride him was in the indoor there, and there were people practicing barrel racing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the first time. It was
your version of the warm-up pen.
Yep. I got on him and very quickly decided that was a poor decision.
Not a good idea.
Got off him. Ended up being fine. But yeah, it was a lot to...
I feel like your first off-property experience should not be to the Kentucky Horse Park.
Talk about not being very prepared. But that's a story for another day. He was a superstar. He was awesome. But yeah, that was a very exciting experience, getting to the makeover and then being like, what have I done? Oh my goodness. But yeah. So, sorry. Off topic. Where are we?
I try to just keep telling myself, I can control what I can control.
Yeah.
And I just try to be as level as I can. And I try not to watch what other people are doing. Although I do have friends who are going, and so we commiserate all the time.
Sure.
And I just say comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
And I'm here to run my own race. And I'm just hoping to do better than we did before. And each time is a learning experience. And again, repetition for us will be the key to success. And whether it's at home or in the competition setting, I feel like he's already experienced more chaos than we will experience at RRP, at least from my experience last year.
And in my mind, I feel like you've already won because you have a horse that does something that not everybody can say about their horse, which that he gives you confidence that you don't necessarily have in yourself. And that's so special that you found that with your RRP horse this year.
Yeah. And I am extremely blessed. I am grateful. I just sit here every day and I'm like, yes. And I'm weirdo, wackadoo Chelsey. I'm like, oh, like I was looking at my truck license plate and the first two letters are UBie and the next, and then the numbers are 71 and he made 71,000 on the track. So it must be a sign that we're going to do really well.
Oh my God.
That's 100%.
This is why we can't live in the same place though, Chelsey, because the horse that we picked up for my barn manager yesterday came home and just a whatever halter they had him in. It wasn't like the barn name or anything. It was just some other horse's nameplate. And we're taking some pictures of him and stuff like that. And I look at his nameplate and I was like, I'm going to start crying. Oh. And then his nameplate says a good time to be Irish on it. And I'm 100% Irish. I'm totally looking for signs from the universe type of person. And I was like,
yep.
Is this a sign? I'm like, is this
now you need to go find that horse, Neve.
Oh, I know. But anyways, I'm right there with you. So I also have like on my shoulder, I have a Thoroughbred tattoo here. And there's a big banner and it says OTTB on it. And we have two boys. They're my boyfriend's kids. And then one day we were at dinner when the kids were little. And they go, is that for Oliver Truman, Travis Truman, and Benjamin Truman? Because like that would have been all of their initials in some way spelled together.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, no, but that's really insightful and interesting.
You should have said yes.
I know.
Oh my gosh. I know I'm going to go on a tangent here too, but so I've had these chaps. They're like 25, 30 years old. Chaps, full set of chaps that somebody gave me for breaking a horse when I was like 16 or something. She didn't pay me. She just gave me these full set of chaps. Were too big for me. So I've had them for over 15 years or something. And I love them and I still wear them. And people made fun of me on the internet. I have had near-death experiences in them, all of this. And anyway, so one day I'm looking at them and I knew that the initials on it were not mine. They were somebody else's. And it says Ace on the back. And I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. And then I was thinking, Ace, Azella, that's my daughter's name, Chelsey, Erminio. And I'm like, oh my gosh, see, these chaps like have saved my life.
Yeah.
I've literally been flipped over on and I got a fence pulled over down on top of me. I've had the best rides of my life in them. I've had the worst rides of my life in them.
Your guardian angel.
Picked on me about them.
Signs from the universe.
Look, it was all a sign.
Yeah.
That's really
I'm right there with you. That's a good lead up talking about this kind of special gift that UBie's given you. But I know you've posted a couple of vague ads for him for sale, but are you hoping that he'll sell at the makeover, or what's your plan in terms of advertising him and selling him and everything?
Yeah, so he's listed on the ASPCA marketplace. He has a premium ad, so you can find him. He'll be on the Jumbotron while we're there. And if people are interested in trying him, which I took that picture 30 minutes. 30 minutes before it was due. I had bathed him an hour before, went down there, put my bridle on and, all that. Anyways, so it's a beautiful picture. And so I hope people are, caught by his beautiful conformation and, stands out, because I didn't see a lot of Western horse setup ads there, but hoping that he catches somebody's eye either with, watching us go or his ad. And I am happy to answer any questions. My phone number and email is on his ad. And so he'll be available to be tried while we're there. I would love to find him the right person. He could go in so many different directions. Steady Eddie trail horse, actual working ranch horse, go work on the racetrack as a pony horse. All of the things are unlimited for him. And I really hope that, I would love to keep him. But I could say that about every single one. I'm like, I just love them all. Yeah. I do. I love him. My goal here was to make an adoptable horse, give him the tools that he needed to succeed out there in the world, and give him a good chance at a second career. And again, I'm always one for the underdog story. And so I love proving people wrong, like all these people on their ads on the internet about what they can and cannot have and never had any injury or surgery or can't be a cribber. But I hope this will just shed a light on the fact that he is a great horse, and they'd be missing out on a huge opportunity for a great partnership. So my hope is that we do find somebody while we're there. If we don't, I'm not sure. He may go back to Pennsylvania. He may stay with me for a little while. We haven't really worked out the details of that yet. I guess it's to be continued.
Yeah.
But he is available while we're there, or before. If somebody said, hey, I'm interested in him and I don't want to lose the opportunity, he's available to be seen here in Berryville, Virginia.
Awesome.
We can certainly include his link with the episode when it airs, and people can reach out to you. Though it does sound a little bittersweet, but I know that is your.
It is. It's always so sad to say goodbye.
Yeah, but you can follow along and see how he does. That's the beauty of social media, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I do love it for that reason.
Yeah. All right. As we're wrapping up here, we wanted to find out, other than finding him on the ASPC marketplace, how can listeners reach you or follow along online?
So you can find me on Facebook, just my regular name, Chelsey O'Brien. And on Instagram, you can find me and UBie's journey under RRP _Unbeknownst to Me. And if you wanted to follow my regular shenanigans, it's at CKOB, spelled out in all letters, SEEKAYOHBE. And then if you're in the market for other adoptable horses who have great training, some have a lot of experience, so the horses range from unrestarted to out there, and I've been following some of the riders who ride for Pastured Place. There'll be a couple competing at the Real Rider Cup for Pastured Place. And they're doing great work with these horses and getting them going eventing, dressage, started over fences, all different things. And I know they have some horses who have fox hunted and things like that. So you can check out the horses, the adoptable horses on pasturedplace.org, or on Facebook, Pastured Place, or on Instagram at Pastured Place. And any likes and follows is great. Share their different content so that we can get the word out about Pastured Place, because they're doing great things and these horses are really thriving, and seeing all of the amazing things that they're doing out there and supporting aftercare is really amazing.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Last question, I think. Describe an OTTB in one word.
Oh, goodness. I guess I would say not sensitive, maybe empathic. Maybe. How can I pick one word?
I like empathic. That's really good.
Nobody has used anything like empathic, and I think it's fantastic, especially with everything we talked about today.
Yeah. I like that.
Cool.
Awesome.
Anything else you wanted to throw in there before we wrap up?
Not that I can think of, because I will just keep you here for another 40
You're
minutes.
always so nervous about the interview, and you always do such a good job. Like you always have these great little insightful things that you say, and I don't know, you shouldn't be so nervous about sharing.
I think it's hard because for the last few years I've been a hermit, and now I have to be very public facing, and I'm like,
it's hard.
My gosh. I forgot that I'm really even weirder than I used to be.
Speaking of being weird, I know we talked a little while ago about me maybe coming down to your area. We actually have really good friends that live in that area. And that might be a fun little overnight trip for me to kidnap out Emily and go on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to go to that area and visit Jenny and her mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jenny
so they have a little farm down
Karen. There. Shout out.
And get some proper photos of you and UBie before you head on your way.
Yes, because if Erminio does it, we will just end up arguing because I don't know how anybody could take a less flattering photo. My eyes are rolling back in my head.
Right. We yesterday started. We used to obviously take sale photos together all the time when it's a miracle that we still speak. I think everybody has that relationship when they're trying to take photos of horses or of you or whatever it may be. But yesterday we started to put some content together for something down the road to do with confirmation and
educational stuff,
sale photos, things like that. And it was like flashbacks.
But it was funny because it was like all the stuff that we were trying to not do before, we were actually trying to highlight yesterday. So we were trying to make their heads too high and just
like all the horses were like, we stand
perfectly.
Also, no one ever looks good when you're standing holding a horse for a conference.
We were talking about, wouldn't it be funny to do a bunch of zoomed in photos of the facial expression? Because it's either you looking at the horse being like, don't you move, or you looking at your friend being like, say that to my face one more time. There's always that point too where you go, do you want to switch? Do you want to hold the horse? Do you want to?
Yeah. You just take them.
It's just a razor's edge. It's just really. All right.
Yeah. And then COVID, when you had to do the online horse showing and videoing. I don't know if you guys did any.
No, we were out of the business by then. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
All right, Chelsey, it was so good catching up with you. We'll have to figure out some weekend for us to pop down there and see you in person.
Yes.
If you liked what you heard today, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can follow OTTB on Tap on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And contact us with interview candidates and topic suggestions at OTTBOnTap.com. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. You might win a prize. We love hearing from you.
Bye.